this is really excellent. We'll have our business meeting later on, but otherwise, I think we're just here to have fun. Here's some great papers and see each other and catch up. So thanks for being here. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into panel one. So for our first paper, we've got Liam Connerly, an alumnus of Utah State's Classics program and currently a graduate student at the University of New Mexico. And he's joining us from Zoom, as you can see. So very pleased to have him here. And his paper is going to be Uncanny Host in Euripides Cyclops. And did everybody get a handout? If you didn't, there you go. We're pretty old. Okay, let's see, I got you. All right, Liam, take it away.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Otten. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you guys for having me. Just to be frank and candid, this is the first time I've ever presented, so I'm a little nervous, but I'm here for it, and I just thank you guys for entertaining this. So we're just going to dive on into it. I plan on simply reading my paper, but if I do, I'll add little tidbits about maybe some Greek terminology as we move forward. But other than that, just sit back, relax, drink your coffee, have a nice cup of tea, and let's dive into the domestic horror and the broken ritual in Euripides Cyclops here. So starting off, when the home feels wrong, Euripides Cyclops transforms Homer's infamous cave into the charged architecture of the Dionysiac theater, and then he dresses it like a Greek household. That choice is not a harmless joke. In fact, it produces what Freud calls the Unheimlich, the return of what once was Heimlich and homely in a form that is estranged and frightening. The more recognizably Greek the cave's furnishings and talk become, i.e. stools, skins, wine, bargaining, the more unsettling the scene feels. This is because the ritual and ethical grammar that secures the oikos has been inverted, oikos being home in the Greek. The host devours his guests. Libation does not reconcile men and gods. Song sounds like a symposium, yet entertains cannibalism. In this paper, I argue that Euripides transforms Homer's cannibal scene into a theater of uncanny domesticity by staging 3 deliberate distortions. First, he turns a border cave into a parodic oikos, an edge home where ordinary and mundane forms of language and exchange remain in place but no longer protected. Secondly, he replaces sacrifice with a pseudo-sense of hospitality which imitates the sequence and sound of ritual while also canceling out its meaning. Lastly, he concentrates dread around seeing and being seen so that the blinding of a single eye becomes an injury to the very organ through which the self recognizes and is recognized. Jeffrey Jerome Cohen's monster theory clarifies why this comic reassignment of household forms heightens rather than diffuses anxiety, almost invoking a hysterical reimagining of the scenario. It emphasizes that the monster's body incorporates fear, desire, anxiety, and fantasy, and is pure culture. Egbert Bacher's account of meat, feasting, and narrative helps explain why the scene's convivial sacrifice is ethically absent. In the Odyssey, meat consumption is a central theme, and criminal eating resonates with the pre-cultural worlds Odysseus visits. Chloe Bray's philology on eschatia and pyrar, those are 2 Greek words, really referring to edge space that I get into in a hot sec here, shows that Homer's cave is already an edge space, a threatened space holding a momentary calm before deliberate action, while pyrar signals a finality that is potentially fatal and unknowable for mortals. First, a border cave refurnished as a house. Homer situates the Cyclops in the lexicon of edges. As Bray argues, eschatia in Homer marks a threatened edge space where a person may be temporarily safe before moving into danger, while pyrar denotes a definite boundary whose consequence depends on divine will. She notes the Cyclops cave and shoreline as such edge spaces. Excuse me. A little swiggy swig here. Scenes whose traditional force threatens not only life but leadership, as Odysseus loses men and moves towards isolation. From the start, the epic tempts recognition. Odysseus sees a cave where he kept everything and lingers over its domestic inventory. Puroi, Armena, Sequoia. These are cheeses, milking vessels, pens, before he chooses for the host's Xenia gifts, Dora Xenia in the Greek. Euripides amplifies this domestic expectation by staging it. Silenus haggles like a steward. Satyrs fetch water and food. Polyphemus returns from pasturing. Inventories stock, questions strangers, and calculates his gains. This refurnishing is crucial. It makes the cave look Heimlich precisely where Homer had made it look hostile to an exchange. The inversion produces uncanny effect because everything is familiar until the moment you must trust it. The trust collapses when the host speaks. Polyphemus's creed is bluntly anti-civic. I won't say the Greek, but I'll say the translation that I have. We, Cyclops, care nothing for Zeus who bears the aegis. And the testimony is further confirmed by the raw killing that follows. Euripides preserves the basic reversal while also intensifying it by making the cave even more recognizably Greek. Cohen helps name the pressure of that recognition. The monster dwells at the gates of difference, a mixed category that breaks binary opposition and demands polyphony at the base of human order. Euripides literalizes that gate as a door to a cave that looks like our house. What crosses that liminal space is the possibility that Greek forms what we trust: work, talk, feast, and how that may persist after an ethical mediation has failed. Secondly, a cordial sacrifice that cancels sacrifice. A cordial surface that cancels sacrifice. Apologies there. Bakker shows that in Homer, the movement from raw to cooked, the orderly distribution of joints, and the right sequence of word and action bind men to gods and to one another. When meat and speech are staged badly, though, the social narrative and order is corrupted. Polyphemus violates these notions openly. He eats omen and rejects prayer. He then treats wine as fuel rather than offering Odysseus some, and instead drains it. Again, I have the Greek, but in the translation, he asked me for more a second time. Again, I gave him flaming wine. Thrice I poured it as I brought it, and thrice he drained it in his folly. So Polyphemus here is getting really drunk, because we know about the unmixed wine here. Euripides overlaps that same failure with Dionysiac cheer. Silenus crowns, pours, and thieves many sips. The chorus chatters like symposiists. Polyphemus praises the drink while learning the god's name. Yet the sequence never really becomes right. It is convivial sound without reciprocity. The parody clarifies itself when Polyphemus proclaims his belly theology. Again, in the translation, I sacrifice to no one but myself, not to the gods, and to the greatest divinity, this belly. And he perverts Xenia by listing guest gifts as the very implements that will cook Odysseus. You will receive guest gifts, this being the translation, like these, so you cannot complain. Fire, this ancestral bronze, which, once heated, will nicely enfold your flesh. It's nice note there, nice gift. At the name exchange, he adds the macabre bonus. Translation, I will feast on you later than all your comrades. How very nice. His gift is that he's going to eat him last. The Homeric background deepens the distortion. In epic, the drink that seals communion is measured and prayerful. Here, unmixed wine accelerates appetite into violence. Bray's Edge lexicon explains the tension. To cross Pyrata, that boundary, is to invite verdict from the gods. Euripides lets that subliminal web hum beneath counterfeit ritual so that toasts and crowns sound at the brink of a limit. Thirdly, seeing, being seen, and the single-eyed. Freud's catalog of uncanny triggers includes doubles, automatism, repetition, and a charge cluster around eyes and seeing. Eyes are vulnerable organs of identity and recognition. Homer builds the episode around the loosening and retightening of identity through the eye. Odysseus first serves name from body. Again, the translation, as we all know, the utus, ruse, nobody is my name, and nobody my mother and father call me. So when Polyphemus howls to his neighbors, nobody is killing me by guile, not by force, help dissolves. Only later does Odysseus restore the binding of name to body, shouting from the ship. And again in the translation, Cyclops, if mortal men should ask about the shameful blinding of your eye, say that I, Odysseus, sacker of cities, blinded you, son of Laertes, who has his own Ithaca. So here he is, does the whole utus ruse, and then he goes ahead and throws his ping at the end. Gotta love Odysseus for all that great stuff, as we know him to be, a very dynamic individual. Euripides tightens and stages this arc so that the audience experiences it bodily. The single eye centers perspective in the cave. The blinding removes that center as the chorus sing, hesitate, and then giddily misdirect the wounded host. Freud's uncanny is activated because the injury strikes the organ that anchors recognition and identity. Cohen's shifting monster explains why disquiet persists in laughter. The figure does not resolve fear, it circulates it. Ed Space's corrupt language. Promises fail. Prayers do not bind. Names slide between mask and essence. Bray's Pyrrha clarifies the stakes. Pyrrhata are divinely sanctioned boundaries, flexible for gods, yet fixed and unknowable for mortals. The word carries a web of ideas that shape scenes of decisive crossing. In Homer, the utus ruse converts a cry for help into a non-event. Then, the shouted name from the ship re-enters a world where name oblige and the gods answer. Euripides threads that same economy through the exchange talk. The opening barter mini-drama casts Odysseus and Silenus as buyer and steward. The so-called Doron Xenion is cannibal delay. The chorus twists Udus into nowhere to perplex the blinded host. Though the only efficacious words are counterfeits that keep the form of binding without its substance. Bray demonstrates that Homer's boundary language accumulates meaning across episode. Phrases like, to the furthest edge of the field, being the translation from the Greek, cast scenes in a shadow of foreboding, a calmness before a storm, if you will, while Pyrrha concentrates finality toward a victory or destruction. Odyssey 9 already marks the island's approach and the cave's mouth as thresholds where leadership thins and the men are lost. Euripides compresses those residences into a single room and makes them bodily. The chorus shuttles across the cave mouth, testing complicity. Silenus oscillates between care and self-interest. The staging, with distinct entrances for mountain and shore in the Loeb tradition, multiplies thresholds and confuses orientation. The stage becomes an edge machine. What in Homer is a sequence of nautical and narrative crossings becomes, in the satyr play, visible thresholds that bodies measures and cross and fail to cross. Cohen's first and fourth theses gives this reading its cultural point of contact. Monsters are born at the metaphorical crossroads of their moment. The monster's body incorporates fear, desire, anxiety, and fantasy and exists only to be read. In the Cyclops, the monstrous body reads Greek. Polyphemus inventories assets, he praises pleasure, he drinks well, he argues shrewdly, and declares a theology of appetite that mimics sympathetic bravado. As Thesis 4 insists, the monster dwells at the gates of difference, as an incorporation of the outside that originates from what lies beneath. Euripides makes that gate the threshold of a cave that feels like home, which is why recognition and estrangement, they arrive together. Euripides did not tame Homer's cave. He brought it home. He staged it as an edge home, a space that looks domestic and behaves like a border. He set Dionysiac laughter and sacrificial forms to work there, then subtracted that reciprocity and makes them bind. He concentrated dread around the organ that marks identity to the eye and the eye to identity, then sets injury to song. The effect is uncanny because recognition and estrangement arrive together. Bray's Edge lexicon clarifies why the cave remains a decisive threshold. Bacher's sacrificial semiotics clarifies why the feast remains a broken ritual. Cohen's theses clarify why the monster remains a cultural mirror. The lesson Cyclops presses is stark and useful. Laughter can handle the fear without healing it. The oikos can be a cave. The host can be a devourer. The most frightening place is still the one that almost feels like home. Thank you guys very much for that.
Thank you, Liam. So, do we have questions? I'll try to help moderate the questions because I know you can't see. We don't have access to control the.
No problem. I saw like an emoji.
If there's a hand on Zoom, feel free to just
Maybe.
start talking.
Yeah, you do you. Like you're the master of your universe.
Mine is more of a comment, but you did make me think about things, so I will perhaps formulate questions there. I was teaching our epic class in the fall, and music Beowulf, and thinking about Gretel and Mother's home under the lake, and how it's very much couched as a hall, like a deep hall. So that's an interesting parallel. I don't have a question for you, but now you've got me thinking about that. So.
Cool. Yeah. No. I was reading about this, and I was diving into psychoanalytic theory with Freud and thinking about the uncanny and how this scene really does kind of like it creates that space where it gives you that dread, but it almost is parodic in a way where anyways.
I'm curious about you bringing Freud into the conversation with Euripides. I don't know if you can hear me from here.
I can.
Yeah. I'm just wondering what inspired you to use Freud as a framework to read into Euripides. And do you think that what Euripides is doing was an intentional distortion, like what you're describing from Freud's uncanny framework?
So I had this idea really through a Greek seminar that I was taking, which was based on monster culture. So while we were translating the Odyssey 9 and kind of pitting it alongside Homer's, I started seeing, how the depiction in Euripides and how Polyphemus is kind of like this character that entertains a lot of this Greek culture, right? He comes back from hunting, and he presents himself very humanly, but also at the same time, he's a monster, right? And there are these aspects because I don't know, I really like psychoanalytic theory for the I like to call it anecdata, because we really know that Freud, like a lot of that was through speculation and through his own observations. But the uncanny is just something that I really like thinking about and just diving into, especially because, I don't know, I wanted to do something new, to be honest, and to be frank. I thought that I could really kind of dive into this, especially with diving into monster culture and monster theory and thinking about all these different aspects. So I'm not sure if that fully answered your question or not.
Thank you.
Right, Mark, I see your hands up out there.
I do. Okay. Thank you, Liam. That was fantastic. I really enjoyed that paper.
Cool.
And I realize I've been really simplistic in the way that I'm looking at Cyclops. There's a lot more depth to it, and I really appreciate you opening my eyes to that. What got me interested in is, because I'm interested in theater history, is your whole notion that the theater itself becomes the cave
Right.
of Polyphemus. I think that's really, really interesting, and I'd love to see you explore that more, because I wonder if in making the cave, the theater become the cave, are you also making the audience become the satyrs? Or maybe Odysseus' sailors, or whatever. In other words, are you casting the audience along with the physical space?
That is because I've been talking to my one of my Greek professors about this, and how I think that I have this broader concept that like definitely could really signal in and kind of hone in on that kind of like the ed space, and how it really is being entertained on all facets of that theater, because I guess I don't know.
I just wonder, Liam, if it doesn't apply more broadly, and that you start looking at the use of the theater as a space in the other plays by Euripides, especially where there are very specific, designated areas. Hippolytus jumps out at me.
Yes.
Bacchae, Orestes, all of
Bacchae,
those
yeah.
have these things. And I just wonder if there's a lot more characterization going on than just the characters who are playing the roles. Anyway, I just think it's a very interesting way to proceed in terms of the pursuit of what's really in many ways happening meta-theatrically.
Cool.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a really interesting paper, and I'm always interested in monster theory going, and I use monster theory for things like, the Bacchae or Vegeta or something like that. And I think kind of similar to Mark's question about kind of a theatricality. How do you think that monster theory can be applied more broadly in Euripides, but also with this kind of like focus on setting? Because I think what you focus on like the border spaces is what's so interesting. I think Euripides has an interest in these, like, when I taught monster theory, it was really about women and kind of gender question, but I haven't really, I didn't go beyond gender, but it seems like there's a lot of here about kind of being on the edge or in the borders, and it seems like Euripides has a particular interest not only in women, but in this kind of uncanny and this kind of interest in monsters and border spaces. So I was wondering if that's something that you see kind of broadly in, or you looked broadly in Euripides.
So that's really where I saw this recurring theme of ed spaces, because of Odysseus's travels throughout, to get back to home into Ithaca. What I also came to see is that it's also a journey into isolation. As he slowly loses companions, and as you because you guys don't have my actual paper, but there's a lot of that Pyrar and Escatia, those because I'm forgetting right now, but Pyrar and Escatia, one being the potentially Doric versus Homeric forms, but I could be mistaken with that, so don't quote me. But you see this recurring talk of edge spaces, and you see this in broader concepts that I am honestly forgetting right now. But that's what really stuck out to me, because that's kind of like what the uncanny is in a way, where it brings you to this space where, I don't know, it's like, for an example, because it's something that you feel. It's not something that you can really explain. It's like when it was like, for instance, like like quarantine and COVID. I remember the first time I was like looking in the mirror and I had a mask on. And it's like you look in the mirror and you see yourself and you know that that's you, but then having your face kind of occluded and something about that gives this sense of dread, this sense of, and you can't explain it too. But there's also like this you know, this comfort because you also know that you are there as well. So I guess I could be rambling as well, but the edge spaces were something that you see recurring in Euripides with that Pyrar and Escatia.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm gonna, actually, no, I wanna ask my question anyway. I was kind of worried about it, because I didn't wanna do that thing where I'm like, hey, here's this other text I like, and I wanna know if you wanna tell me how it applies to what you've been talking about. But since you mentioned it came from a seminar on sort of monster theory and depictions of monsters, you might have read it anyway. But as you were talking the whole time, I was thinking about the intertext that could pop up with like a third node for you with Theocritus Idyll 11, where Polyphemus is, I mean, to me, on a simplistic reading without thinking about all these edge-based theories, it's just very much a more purely domestic space, and it's very humanized in Idyll 11. So I'm wondering if that would, what that does as a potential third node on the intertext, and how it might sort of show a different, slightly different element. Or again, since you might not have looked at it, you could say, I don't know.
And I'm gonna defer to the latter because I haven't, but that, you know, you guys are giving me such great ideas though that I'm writing this down right when we're done, because this is what I love about like having this reception, is that this isn't just an iteration, and I plan to like, you know, continue to hone in on it, because you know, the more minds and super cool ideas, honestly, I can develop this into a larger and or separate papers, just diving into it, because I wanted to try and do something that was very much like unexpected, like trying to take like a, you know, this weird like, you know, like psychoanalytic lens and bring it into you know, a humanities type realm. So I was trying to do something a little different that people wouldn't expect.
Excellent, thank you so much. Let's thank Liam again for the input.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I really am so grateful.